Welcome to Activations with JJ 2023 Energy Update. In this episode, I will be talking about new beginnings, sovereignty, and empowerment as themes for this upcoming year. Hello, my beautiful friends. Thank you so much for joining me to co-create this episode as we kick off 2023. I feel like 2022 just flew by. And of course, a lot of us are transcending time now. And so time is doing really interesting things. I don't know how many of you out there are feeling that. Either time is feeling very compressed, but also there are moments where I feel like time has been expanded and I can fit a lot more into a little bit of time. And so it's really fascinating how all of this shifting is occurring with our perception of time in and of itself. As we head into 2023, I'm excited to share with you some things that have dropped in over these last few weeks as I've been pondering what to include in the 2023 energy update. Interestingly enough, I had several topics to bring through in the December 2022 update. And when I approached the time to record this, I hadn't had very many things drop in very clearly until just a couple of nights ago, just a few nights before I recorded this and published this. I finally received an answer about what I was to talk about in this energy update. And here's how this information came through. About 3 weeks ago, I was on Instagram and scrolling through some posts, and I happened upon a post that was very, very fascinating. The Instagram account is named Celestial Terrene. Some of you may follow her. I'll go ahead and add a link down below so that you can find her account yourself. But I enjoy a lot of what she posts, and this one was definitely included in that, but it kind of took me a moment to really digest it. I'm going to go ahead and read directly from this post, and then you'll see why this particular quote-unquote energy update that I'm going to create for you today is going to be different. She says, I have checked out of the what is going to happen next scene, aka energy updates and insider knowledge. I am no longer turning the pages in someone else's book, and I have begun to write my own story. The only energy update you need comes from your own internal evaluation of you. How are you feeling about your life? What are the changes you need to make? Stop outsourcing your own individual progress based on external information you receive from others whom you have placed in authoritative positions. That is not self-empowerment. Stop waiting to be rescued. Stop waiting for the money system to change. Stop waiting for some big disclosure. Stop chronically checking in with insiders to see what is happening. Stop waiting for extraterrestrial assistance or visitation. That is the victim/savior paradigm that holds humanity down in a lower vibration and is counterproductive to a new earth paradigm. The only way to the new earth or the heaven on earth scenario is through you. Claim your sovereignty and start forging your own path to joy and love, regardless of what is happening around you or the perceptions of others. We are the saviors we have been waiting on. We do this by raising our own vibration through making a beautiful life for ourselves while seeing others through the lens of compassion. End of quote. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let you digest that for a moment. It was a lot to take in, but so much of it resonated with me. I have to tell you that my guides as well are very, very particular about the verbiage that I use. And so as I shifted last year, I don't know how many of you have been following me for a while, but at the very beginning of my podcast, I used to do what I called weekly energy updates. And then I shifted to sort of weekly, not always weekly, but sort of weekly ascension messages. And there was something about the verbiage I liked better. And now I'm starting to see why. I can see how the terminology energy update might be a little bit disempowering if used in the way that this person described it. And so as I was sitting with this whole entire concept preparing to create this podcast episode, my guide said, do you see that the message we are inviting you to bring through for those who listen is that they are going to create their own themes for 2023. We are inviting them to go within, to take time to sit in their I am presence and decide what they want their 2023 to look like. Now, even though that sounds simple, I know sometimes it can be a little difficult to get there. And so my goal for this episode, rather than telling you the themes of 2023, is helping you understand how you can access your own personal themes for 2023, and also sharing with you the ways that I am going to create offerings that will hopefully facilitate that as well. Just because I feel like a shift in what I do from sort of information giving to empowering and activating. I feel like I've always had that flavor, but I'm really going to lean into it. Everything that I do and that I offer, it's my goal that it will empower you to increase your ability to receive information for yourself. Because again, as was mentioned in that Instagram post, we are essentially our own saviors. We are our own best guides. And so again, I hope what I do today and what I say today in this episode helps you reach a point where you can see that, where you can feel more empowered to move forward in 2023 without needing so much outside validation. Now, I am not against outside validation. I am not against energy updates as a whole, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say here. So the first thing that popped in my mind related to this whole concept is the idea that if there's anything at all that you are working towards in 2023, I would say, in my personal opinion, it would be to increase your clairs, to amplify your ability to use your psychic, what we're calling psychic senses, but I truly believe are just naturally who you are, right? To be able to tune in for yourself a little bit more. So that means for those of you who have felt quote unquote blocked in some of those clairs and some of those psychic senses, your goal would be potentially anything and everything you can do to release or remove programs related to that blockage. Some of this just has to do with the simple contract that you signed when you came into a body saying that you have a veil. Because everybody who came to this planet at this time agreed to have some sort of veil placed over them, of forgetting, as it were, in order to literally cope with being on this planet for a while until you could sort of tune in and increase your density, right? So in order to survive in a body, even in order for a soul to become into a body, you had to sort of tune down certain things. Otherwise, it would be very, very overwhelming. Interestingly enough, in many of the Akashic record inventories that I did over the last few weeks, I have worked with people to help them release contracts of forgetting and step into a remembrance. And so I believe that that remembrance is facilitated by the opening of our clairs, and also vice versa. The literal consent that you could give in your records, right? You're declaring this, that I now consent to have the veil removed, will allow you to step into some sharper clairs, if that's the way you want to see it. As you sharpen your clairs, and there are a ton of ways to do it, not just, you can go in the records, that would probably be my first go-to place to do it. Follow your intuition on that. But also just noticing and standing in your I am presence more. That's actually something else that I feel is one of the most empowering things you can do. I will be completely honest with you. I personally can get overwhelmed very quickly listening to a lot of different transmissions, podcasts, or even reading books. A lot of input right now, and this has happened over the last maybe 3 or 4 months, I've actually had to turn down most of the input. My guides, I'll be like, normally I would be like, okay, what meditation do I need to go listen to? What, I need to relax. What do I need to do? And my guides will say, listen to nothing, repeat the words, I am, I am, I am. And in addition to that, I've been just lighting a candle and meditating in front of a candle. Very, very basic things. In fact, I had a friend who attended a Vipassana retreat. This is a retreat where there is no speaking. It's a silent retreat. And she told me that she felt that expanded her in ways that nothing else had for a very, very long time. And it really resonated. It's that same idea of accessing our I am presence. And that is the way through and to the sharpening of our clairs. This is the whole concept of empowerment by turning inward. So I want to invite you to do the same. Consider turning down certain things that you normally listen to or receive and turning up that I am presence within yourself. Now, there are a few ways to shift into new vibrations, and that's essentially what we're being invited to do as we turn up the clairs, empower ourselves to receive our own energy updates, as it were. And one of those ways is just by simply refreshing certain things around us, certain habits and certain routines. So if all of this sounds really good to you, but you still feel like I kind of just feel stuck still, there are a few different tips I have for that. And again, what I'm referring to is the fact that sometimes our physical body or other parts of us are a little bit less willing to change as rapidly as maybe some other parts are wanting to. So in order to bring all of us on board, I'm going to give you just a few little things that have helped me personally. One of those things is just simply honoring the parts of us that aren't quite ready, but moving forward with the parts that are. We are multidimensional beings, and at any moment in time, different aspects of us could be in various densities. It's really where our awareness is what's going to drive us forward. So if you feel like you're stuck, maybe your awareness is in one density, but you want to bring your awareness to another density. That can be done simply through vibration. But again, as I mentioned before, habits, routines, something you've been doing forever, change it up. Music you've been listening to forever, change it up. Your decor in your house, change it up, especially as we're shifting into the new year and you want to see change. Doing things differently. This sounds really random, but what just popped into my head is buy a new toothbrush, buy a new pair of socks, little things, because this is stuff you do every single day. This has to do with retraining your brain, honestly. You're showing a signal to your brain, even visual or through kinesthetic movement, that you're doing it differently now. Okay, so consider what habits. I really truly feel that as you listen to this, maybe after you listen to this, you might want to go into a little bit of journaling and connect with your own guides about what you can do, what habits you can change. And I'm not even talking about quote unquote bad habits. I'm talking about just simple little things, like I said, with the toothbrush or the socks, things you do on a daily basis. If you shift into a new timeline, you will often find yourself shifting those kinds of things, or vice versa. In order to shift into a new timeline, you will want to shift those kinds of things. So that's something else that has dropped in. Because again, what we're talking about is the release of a deep, deep program that we are looking for a savior outside of ourselves, just as was mentioned in the Instagram post that I read at the beginning of this episode. I'm going to keep referring back to that. So where do you find your information first? A really small thing to do would be before the beginning of each month, when maybe JJ will drop in a message or an ascension message or energy update, however I decide to title these now. I might change them just to help the collective deprogramming, right? But when you are about to go do that, maybe connect in with yourself before you connect in with others. It doesn't mean you have to tune everything out. I still believe that we are being called to gather and to co-create in groups more and more and more, because there is a lot of strength in numbers. But guess what? Do we want to do it from the place of a bunch of followers and then quote unquote savior, or from the place of a bunch of really empowered people who are evenly empowered, co-creating together with all of their strength together? Do you see the difference in that? It's really hitting home for me, to be completely honest. I still have my own personal, deep programming connected to both just society at large and religion. And I'm constantly being invited to release a lot of that. So how we change our mindset regarding where we get downloads, where we get information, how we get downloads, how we get information. Again, there's nothing wrong with checking in with other people and seeing what is coming onto their radar. But there is something about a shift coming through, and I can feel it. And I don't believe that person would have posted on Instagram that exact thing if she also didn't feel that coming through. If she also didn't pick up that the collective is ready to release a lot of these old programs. Another theme that I want to mention before I close out this episode, which is again going to be very simple. It's not going to be 6 themes. It's just going to be go empower yourself, sharpen those clairs however you feel drawn to do it. Be patient with yourself. But this last theme has to do with, again, the closing of a cycle and the beginning of a new cycle. When I stepped into the Akashic Records over these past few weeks with many, many people, I really truly felt that we were bringing into closure an entire age, not just like a year, not just their life. It was literally representative of a cycle and a program that had been running in their ancestral line for thousands of years, collective. And so I really think that if you sit with that, you may find that you could be, many people call it chain breakers, that you could be the one who is assisting your ancestral line in shifting into a new era, a new density, a new age. Of course, we hear all about the age of Aquarius. I know these are all terms that other people have mentioned. So however that sits with you and however you receive that, that's the general idea that I'm feeling. At first, it's like, oh, it's another year. We're going to start fresh. And I'm like, no. This is totally different than quote unquote, just another year. And I don't believe this shift is going to occur from one year to the next. We're in this very key point where it's really I think it'll be over maybe a couple of years. I still haven't really tapped into that, but I think there's just this in-between phase we're in. But it's almost like, if I were to tell you what I'm visualizing, it'd be this. Imagine a ship with a lot of anchors, and maybe, 10, 20, 30 anchors that are keeping them sort of where they're at. And what we're doing over this next few years, we've already started it, I think, is we are gently clipping off those anchors that are keeping us tethered, right? And so over this next little while, you're going to see these really significant family ancestral programs being released. And there's several, but that doesn't mean we have to be depressed about it, but there are several. And so, but they're not like these little strings. They're these pretty thick ropes, and they're done on behalf of your entire family. The more you sharpen your clairs, again, the more you'll feel confident about going into the Akashic Records yourself. So that being said, we are in a year of empowerment, sovereignty, and creating our own destiny, our own new earth. This isn't for someone else to tell us what to do. This is for us to decide what we want, to work on our solar plexus, to stand in our I am presence. I again encourage you, after you're done listening to this episode, to sit and journal for a bit, to feel what comes out for you, and almost like you were creating your own energy update for yourself. Before we finish off, I definitely want to share with you some exciting things I have coming up over the next little while. One of them is an in-person event in Los Angeles. I will be doing a Goddess Day retreat with my amazing friend Queenie of Reiki and Flow. You can find all about that down in the link below. I will be there again on Saturday, January 7th. I would love to connect with those of you who are able to make it. In addition to that, I do have some new gatherings coming up. This year, I have decided to wrap up certain gatherings and start new ones. You can find all about the gatherings below. I'm not going to go over the exact schedule, but these are monthly gatherings I will be doing. Some of them include angelic activation gatherings, Lemurian remembrance gatherings, Atlantean Golden Age gatherings, and I still have my fairies, dragons, and elementals, and my newly named Galactic Family of Light gatherings. So if you're familiar with my gatherings, you can find out more about those below. Lastly, I do have my light language mentorship. I will be doing light language mentorship cohorts 3 times a year. The first one starts the 3rd week of January, and I have 2 different cohorts for the time zones. So I have some that will cater more than Australia, New Zealand, evening Pacific times, and other ones that will cater to sort of the European time zones. And so you can take a look below, find out more about those cohorts, which I am co-creating with 2 of my amazing light language channel friends, Antoinette and Allie. I'm so excited to have them assisting me with that. I want to let you know really quickly before I end why I feel like these light language mentorship groups are so important. What I have noticed is one of the most potent ways to expand your clairs is through light language. And I know that sounds weird. You might think, well, don't I have to have my clairs before I do light language? Honestly, I feel like the light language is a natural way to expand your clairs because it's literally what we were born to do. Light language is the language of our soul as we bring through different vibrations. And we study and we learn in my program spoken light language, written light language, and hand light language. And it's a really beautiful way to, again, connect with yourself because you're bringing through your own vibration and you're manifesting it through those different kinds of light languages. All right, my friends, again, I'm excited to co-create with you this year in a way that will empower you, in a way that will help you step into your sovereignty and your I am presence. I'm sending you so much love and gratitude, and I'm reminding you that I am you, and you are me, and we are we. Wishing you a very, very beautiful, expansive, and empowering 2023. Until next time.